Hello everyone and welcome. Today on the chopping block is Magical Halloween Theater with a bonus section for analyzing the dynamic between this version of Aina and Karin. We start with Karin and the most pitiful magical girl hunting some witch before the pitiful being declares that Karin is not Halloweeny enough. Struck hard by this, Karin then decides that the only way to redeem herself is to become the Halloweener. And as fate has it, her grandma needs someone to put on a play for some annoying brats, so Karin jumps at the opportunity and gets started with putting her master plan into motion. Karin writes a masterful one-to-one copy of her magical Kirin story that she calls an homage. Yeah, sure Karin, that's one way of masking plagiarism, and tells Senpai about it, but she really doesn't care at all. She describes how important it is that she is not disturbed and that she has to focus on her artwork lest it be destroyed forever. So Aina immediately abandons her artwork and listens to Karin, who made Karin realize that she needs actors, which somehow she never actually really thought about. After Karin's too real realization that she has no friends, she calls upon Team Terrible Life Choices to help her out, but sadly they all already got R-rated plans with each other on that day, and so Karin is forced to find someone else to help her. So then someone else appears in front of Karin and immediately decides to help out. Someone else already knows two people that might play the part of the Moo, and so someone else gathers the literal personification of a cow, and Felicia, for Karin. Karin then picks Felicia to be the cow, while the real cow is sad. Felicia already knows the best person to play the demon, and even though Karin is a bit scared, she won't let this stop her from becoming the Halloweener. And so Karin meets Yachio again, which she had a rather unpleasant run during her side story. Yachio at this point has two choices that she can make. She can either do something that she's going to regret for her entire life and have nightmares about each day until the day she dies, or she could see the light and agree to help Karin, so of course she picks that choice. Meanwhile, back with Senpai, Senpai has absolutely no interest to help Karin at all, since she only cares about herself and not about anyone else. So Alina immediately abandons what she said before and tells Karin that she's going to help design all the costumes without demanding anything in return. With almost all roles filled, Karin then gathers everyone and tells them to basically help themselves while she runs off to do absolutely fuck all for multiple days. Senpai still says she doesn't care about Karin or what Karin's doing at all, and she really only wanted to make the costume to maybe get some inspiration or because it could be fun and not for Karin's sake. So Aina immediately abandons that pretense and gives Karin a stern talking to about how Karin is a failure to her goal of becoming the Halloweener. The words of Senpai ring in Karin's ears as she bumps into Kyoko head first, which gives her enough of a blunt trauma to the head to realize what Senpai's words mean, and so Karin is finally ready to drag Kyoko into the story against her will and tell her to become the wolf. Everything finally comes together with Karin taking charge, which causes Senpai to fork over the costume design. The alien then makes the costumes, while the gremlin helps out with pyrotechnics, using her stando killer queen, while the cow does the lighting and the rest continues practicing their lines. At the day of the event, Karin runs late, because of course she does, as she runs into a witch. The rest of the team grow restless, but decide to start anyway as Yachio is threatening to break some legs, which causes everyone to almost get a heart attack since Yachio's legendary leg break has become an uwasa at this point. Karin is having trouble fighting the witch, but ultimately has to resort to beating the witch using the candy that reserved for the annoying brats, which causes her to pop into existence on stage as the witch labyrinth crumbles, a procedure that was hitherto known as the birth of the Halloweener. Karin then finishes the play and everyone is happy as Karin gives out the final cookies that the most pitiful magical girl left for her. Okay, now that the summary part is done, let's talk about AliKari. So Aina and Karin is easily one of the most popular ships in all of manga record, but it is also easily one of the most controversial ship, probably the most controversial ship, even more controversial than Yachio and Iroha. And as a side note, in my opinion, the Iriachi controversy is easily the dumbest part of the entire manga record fandom. Because Aina is actually seen by most to be a psychopathic, murderous maniac who only wants to kill people for art. And she's also pretty abrasive and abusive to Karin in pretty much every single scene they are together with. But before I tell you if I think that this assessment is correct or not, let's just go over the way that Alina usually acts the way around Karin. So first off, Alina will pretty much always mention that she doesn't actually care for Karin, that she's only sharing the room out of necessity, while she gushes about how perfect of a body that Mifuyu has, and how she wants Mifuyu to model for her repeatedly. But if you actually look at the actual scenes in which Aina speaks and acts, we find quite quickly that Aina on one hand only ever does anything for Mifuyu's sake if she can get something in return from Mifuyu, while always mentioning Mifuyu in relation to art, but also never in relation to Mifuyu as a person. While with Karin, Aina actually quite often does something for the sake of Karin as a person without actually wanting anything in return. Which brings me to my second part. What Aina herself wants out of the interaction with other human beings is in some way to further her own pursuit of art. It's why she lost for Mifuyu, it's why she became a Magus, it's why she hangs out after school in the art club with Karin, and yet we see her in both Karin's Magical Girl story and in this event, out of her own volition, do something for the sake of another human being, not for the sake of art. This by itself is probably the biggest giveaway that Aina does actually care for Karin as a person. Aina herself had nothing to gain from designing the costumes for Karin or from taking part in Karin's struggle and giving her important advice that Karin needed to realize her mistakes and change her way. And that brings me to my third point. Aina is indeed in some way a psychopath with a misguided moral compass, and she struggles with human contact in many ways. Now, I'm not, and I never will, portray Aina as a morally good person. Aina is a morally evil person due to the fact that she has absolutely no idea how social interaction with other people are supposed to work. And some people even call Aina a sociopath. Despite all of that, it is shown multiple times that Aina treats Karin very differently than any other person she has any contact with. The Magius, the Feathers, the Needs, Mifuyu, all of these people Aina treats like a stepping stone towards her own personal ideals of art. While for Karin, even though she sometimes says that she only deals with Karin out of necessity, Karin is still the one person she treats differently from everyone else. The one person that Aina betrays her own outward, outspoken motivations for. The one person Aina is willing to lie to herself about. In this event and any other interactions Aina has with Karin, Aina might say she doesn't care about Karin, but then she actually does something for Karin that has no value or payback for Aina herself. But that only brings me to the fourth and final point. It is very easy to point out that Aina talks the way to Karin in a way that people describe as abusive. And I definitely agree that Aina is extremely harsh with Karin. But as mentioned before, Aina has no concept of proper human interaction. She just speaks her ideas in the one way, the only way she knows. But the intention behind her words is definitely altruistic. For example, when she rips up her own designs in this story while telling Karin that she's not doing anything, the intention behind what she does is to get Karin to understand that she needs to take charge and become the director of her play, and not just in name but in practice as well. That is the number one main reason why so many people find AliKari so fascinating. It can be shown with so many scenes that Aina does see Karin in a completely different, more personal, more human light than any other person, and she tries to legitimately help Karin in a selfless manner without demanding anything in return. But, and this is a very big but, even a bigger but than Tsuruno, since Aina is kind of a psychopath, quite a psychopath, it's impossible for her to actually talk to Karin in a normal way or say encouraging words to Karin in a friendly way. Instead, Aina always expresses herself in an extremely harsh manner. Now, of course, most of all ships between characters are usually about one character having trouble in some way with something, and the other character trying to create a warm and welcoming environment for that other person, so they can both ascend to metaphorical gay heaven together. But AliKari goes completely against that trope, and that is why so many people are interested in this ship. It's a ship where both characters, like in pretty much any other ship, genuinely do care for each other on a personal, a human level. But one of them is such an enormous psychopath that she cannot help herself but be abrasive and way too harsh for common decency. Karin still sticking around and trying to get through to Alina, even though she has to endure the abrasiveness Alina shows her, because she realizes Alina still tries to help for her, but is unable to do so without using cutting words that hurt. That is the true pull of this ship. Of course, that doesn't mean this ship is completely wholesome. This is definitely not a ship that I would describe as wholesome, but it is still a true ship. A ship based on mutual affection, even if one side of this affection is veiled in apparent hostility, but implied selfless care. Anyway, that's all I have to say for this one for now. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Remember to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time.